Final Fantasy VII is iconic for a lot of reasons. For some people, it was their entry into the RPG scene. For some, it was the best RPG they had ever played. It was a fresh challenge, with a rich story to boot. Yes, there were plenty of other Final Fantasies with a rich story and gameplay loop, but this was seen as the RPG to have and play. The marketing for it was way out there, and when we got our hands on it, it was like going through our very own movie of sci-fi action mixed with magical elements. The characters were fun and vibrant, and the story took many great and unexpected turns. Now we have the remake. This game has been highly anticipated ever since the PS3 launched. I remember people talking about it and speculating with just rumors during the PS3 era. When nothing was shot out for the PS3, we finally saw something for the PS4 in 2015. This made every fan, including myself, excited for what was going to come. What we weren't excited for was the 5-year-long development cycle that it was going to take, and that the game would be released near the end of the PS4/Xbox One generation. And to top it off, the remake would be covering only the first part of the Final Fantasy VII storyline. To some, the game only covering the first part of the original story will seem a little underwhelming, especially since most people already know the events of the original. But I am pleased to say that the Final Fantasy VII Remake is indeed worth the time and cash that you will spend on it. That is for 3 reasons specifically. 1, the length of the game is well around 30 to 50 hours long, depending on how much time you spend on side quests and how often you die. 2, the combat system is addicting as hell, and I didn't want to drop it. I am wanting to go back into it right now as I am writing this. 3, the voice acting and presentation of this game is simply beautifully crafted. You will fall in love with this world. That doesn't mean that everything is fine and dandy, though. There are some rough edges and things that I want to touch on that aren't so perfect and beautiful in this game. So don't be expecting me to praise it all throughout this video, but I'm going to give credit where it is due, and give criticism where I think it needs it. Just in case for anyone out there who is afraid of spoilers, I will do my best to avoid them. But don't be surprised if you see some footage of crazy story-based boss fights. So here's a spoiler warning just in case. You have been warned. So, let's grab our swords that are not compensating for anything, spike up our hair, and save the planet.
Get down here, Merc.
The story of Final Fantasy VII Remake is pretty much the same from the original. You follow Cloud and friends trying to take down the evil corporation known as Shinra. For those that are not so in tune with the story, Shinra is basically trying to suck the lifeblood out of the planet for profit. There are some slight deviations from the original plot here or there, however. But, like I promised, I am doing my best to stay out of spoiler territory. You start off playing only as Cloud at first. Cloud's main job at the beginning of the game is to fight any opposition and act as a distraction, while a group known as Avalanche works to blow up one of the reactors that is siphoning the energy out of the planet. As you play through the first chapter of the game, you will be introduced to the several members of Avalanche. Now this, I did like. I liked that the developers actually did focus on the members of Avalanche a bit more, since they are killed off so early in the storyline of the original Final Fantasy VII. This made me actually care for them a bit more. The only thing that annoyed me a little bit was Jessie being super thirsty for Cloud. This becomes a recurring thing with the main female characters in the game. For some reason, every dateable chick in the game seemed to fawn over Cloud like crazy. In the original, yes, I'm going to be saying this a lot, romance options were available to you, but they weren't exactly forced. This felt heavily tagged on. The developers really wanted you to have fun with these girls, and it showed. This could be me just wanting to get to the gameplay and not wanting to spend hours staring into the 3D rendered eyes of a character that I know that was rendered to look like the perfect human being. But some people want to enjoy that. I don't care for that so much. But I digress. This is a very beautiful and fun game to get into, and the characters are equally as interesting. As you walk through the streets of Midgar and fight, you will notice that a great deal of polish was put into this game. Those 5 years of development were not wasted whatsoever. I never ran into one graphical glitch or gameplay glitch. The only thing that I did run into was the pop in and out of low-res textures. But this is easily ignored, considering that none of the character models ever really experience this problem. There will be several instances where you will be tasked to play as a specific character that needs to go on a specific task. For example, Cloud climbing the support pillar in order to help his friends, Tifa doing acrobatic stuff to reach a key, Barrett shooting through obstacles, and Aerith saving a child. About half of these I thought were necessary. The bit with Tifa going solo on the acrobatic stuff was slow and kind of painful to get through. And when it came to Aerith saving Marlene, it just slowed the game to an all-time low, and I just wanted to get through it. The reason why I did like Cloud and Barrett's solo moments was because they were actually a little challenging. The girls unfortunately got the raw end of the stick when it came to the gameplay side of things for their sections. Another thing that I felt was really filler was Chapter 11 with the Ghost Train Yard. I just didn't feel that it contributed anything to the story. If this area was an optional side area that the player could explore, I think that would have been a better idea for it. Since the enemies in this section are exceptionally tough, it would have been a great bonus area to get some more weapons or items from. Speaking of side quests, the side quests are quite enjoyable in my opinion. I have played many games where side quests are just grindy and hardly add any significance to the story. In this game, the side quests actually make a difference to your overall experience. On top of that, they are all different in their own way. Characters will actually reference you helping others when you do these side quests. You'll also learn better strategies for combat as well as getting your character's levels up. The last thing when it comes to the story that I think should be touched on is the story itself. If you are looking for a story-heavy game, you have just hit the jackpot. This game is filled to the brim with story. Its voice acting is excellent and it's hard not to get into it. The only thing that I would like to say that could be a downside for some people is how much story you are getting. If you are a player who just wants to play the game and ignore the cutscenes / dialogue, you are going to have a hard time. But that is the reason why you would even buy a Final Fantasy game to begin with, isn't it? To explore a vast world, experience a great story, and enjoy having unique characters on your side. If you are not into this, then you've bought the wrong game.
Hit 'em hard and fast.
Sounds good.
Combat in the original game was based on a strategic take-turn system. You would wait for a time bar to fill, and then you could select what your characters would do. This has been changed for the better in the remake. Now when you fight enemies, you are hacking and slashing while switching in between characters, rapidly filling an action bar and selecting what abilities and spells they should use in real time. To say the least, the combat system went from being completely strategy-based to hectic and strategic. Oh yes, strategy is still a major thing in this game. You will need to read your enemy's movements in order to block, counter, and cast specific spells that will disable them and make them easier to take down. Because even though Cloud swings a giant sword that can cut a normal human being in half with one slice, enemies are still tough to take down without the proper strategies and can end you easily. I can probably name 2 enemies that will go down like nobody's business, but the rest of them will take some work. So it is actually essential that you use one specific tool that will make your life 5 times easier in this game. Assess materia. Trust me on this, that materia will help you so much. It made bosses that were a real pain in my rear actually seem more vulnerable. I was able to understand what I need to do in order to stagger them and put an end to their annoying existences without too much of a problem. Certain characters will actually be a lot more effective against other enemies. For example, Barrett is effective with wind magic and taking out targets that can fly. Tifa is a glass cannon that can dish out pain very quickly. Cloud is great for staggering and countering melee-based enemies. Everyone has a specialty, and they will all have a use in combat that will help you. Every character also gets their own set of weapons and accessories that they can equip. Weapons are exclusive per character, but the accessories everyone has access to. This can range from damage and defense buffs all the way down to resisting status ailments and elements. Equipping all of this can mean the difference of a build working or not. But the nice thing is that upgrades can be resetted and equipment can practically be changed out at any time. So the possibilities in how you want to approach each challenge of the game is practically limitless. Everyone can swap out their materia at any time as well. Like in the original, Materia will give you bonuses and abilities. Some are pretty standard, like giving you the ability to cast fire spells or healing. Some are more technical, like being able to put enemies to sleep and making you immune to the same spell. On top of that, Materia does upgrade while you have them equipped in battle. You don't have to even use them. They still get the experience and upgrade as long as you keep them equipped. You will be finding plenty of materia, by the way, so expect to be having doubles here or there. But that is a good thing. Having characters equip the same materia as others can be beneficial, especially in long and tough fights. Because if you lose one character who happens to have a spell that staggers a monster heavily, it's gone until you either A, revive the party member, or B, you kill the monster. Even if B does miraculously work, that party member will be at 1 HP until you heal them. So, pro tip, keep everyone's HP up no matter what. What will help you with that are the random benches and vending machines strewn throughout Midgard. Resting at a bench will heal everybody in the party, and the vending machines will do exactly what you think they will do. The nice thing about these machines is that they will frequently have sales that will discount very useful items, so be sure to check them out every once in a while. The weapon system also got an overhaul in this remake as well. Instead of just ditching the last weapon you had for a better one, you actually keep every weapon you get in this game. The reason for this is because every weapon can be upgraded to fit your needs as you progress. The other nice bonus in this is that weapons don't share upgrade points. Every weapon has its own upgrades and upgrade points, so you can experiment to your heart's content. Another thing that is nice is that when you have used a weapon-specific ability enough times, you will learn the ability permanently, therefore allowing you to use it with any weapon. This can make encounters more flexible and easier to handle overall. You can never have enough abilities to tear enemies apart. The last thing that I would like to touch on in this combat system is the dodging mechanic. It is practically useless. I can maybe count 3 occasions where the dodging mechanic actually did help me. Every other time I tried using it, I got hit anyways and received full damage. This wasn't due to poor timing of the dodge. It was because practically every attack that an enemy throws at you is tracking your character. It will turn a complete 90-degree angle just to hit you while it's in the movement of the attack. This made avoiding spell damage practically impossible. You might as well just block against everything and hope for the best when it comes to avoiding damage. And if the enemy can fly, you have no hope of dodging any of its spells as well as most of its attacks. I'm looking at you, Hell House.
What he calls.
I believe that this is a unique retelling of the Final Fantasy VII story. I enjoyed the characters, the environments, and all the activities that I was introduced to. I loved the music and the feeling I got whenever I accomplished something difficult. I never thought that I would see so many iconic scenes rendered in modern-day graphics. I never thought that I would appreciate a remake this much. If you get the opportunity to buy this game, like I said before, it is worth your time and money. Relish in the corny dialogue, enjoy the frantic combat, and love that beautiful crisp rendering of the world. We may not get a remake like this again anytime soon. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.